All right, welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about escaping from things. Oftentimes we do this more often than we realize. We notice this in many different areas, whether it's drugs and alcohol related, video game related, or gym related. What's the first thing a guy does if he goes through a bad breakup? What do the friends recommend? There's two. One, go clubbing, which includes drugs and alcohol, or two, go to the gym. Why is that? Why do we do these things? Is it a bad thing to escape? Is it a bad thing to just detach and just go play video games for 6, 7 hours a day? Is it a bad thing to just take a leave of absence from work? Or maybe just not go back at all? How bad are the consequences really? So, my talk today is really going to be about the different avenues of escape, why we use them, and some of the benefits and potential harm that are involved in this. Generally, the first thing to consider when we look at escape is recognizing that there's a difference between I'm doing X for the sake of doing X versus I'm doing X because I want to get away from Y. It's subtle, but it's really important that we're on the same page here. There's a difference between I want to go towards this versus I'm just trying to get away from that. All right? Because you might not love things purely in and of themselves. You just like them because what they're able to do for you in that point in time. And again, we see this in drugs, alcohol, video games, going to the gym, whatever it may be. So when someone's looking to escape into something, it's generally because they want a breath of fresh air. They want to feel re-energized. It might be due to excessive amounts of stress. It might be due to very intense emotions. That could be anger. That could be sadness, frustration. And in order to, because the worst thing you could do to someone is say, hey, don't think about it. Don't think about how stressed you are right now. Don't think about all the things that make you angry. I wouldn't recommend saying that to someone. What I'd instead say is focus on the things that make you happy. Focus on something that you look forward to. It's just slightly different. So what happens is you slowly alter your perspective. And instead of an idea of lessening a negative thing, we want to focus on a positive thing. The easiest way to look at this is after work. So you think, oh man, I got a long shift today. But the good thing is, once my shift finished, me and my friends go out, we're going to this new pizza place, right? Or maybe Saturday, Sunday, me and a few friends of mine, we're going on this fishing trip. So those little things, see, when I say escape, I know I went to drugs and alcohol and this stuff, and maybe you thought the extreme. It doesn't have to be. They could be super simple. It could be very straightforward. It could be, look, me and my friends watch the hockey games every Saturday. That's my kind of escape. That's my refresh. That's the thing that re-energizes me. It could be a club. It could be martial arts, whatever it may be. So we understand that the purpose of these things is oftentimes, look, it can be a component of both. It can be, we want to get away. We want to forget about work. We want to forget about our problems. We want to forget about our daily stressors. And it might also be because we enjoy that activity. If we didn't enjoy that activity, we'd drop it for something that we did enjoy. Something that we enjoy enough that would take our mind off of whatever's going on. And that's subjective enjoyment. Just because me and my buddies might go out every Saturday and watch a basketball game doesn't mean that if you came and joined us, you'd like it. It depends. Do you like basketball games? What are your thoughts on sports in general? Is that something that you like? These are things to take note of. Now, certain mediums are less intense than others. Again, going out to a bar, going out to a restaurant, it's not as harmful maybe to your health as drinking. Imagine someone who just loses their job and they want to forget about how they're going to have to pay for the rent and what getting groceries is going to look like. So what do? They go, all right, I'm just going to drink a little bit more. And one glass of wine might turn to 3 or 4. Let's have a couple of beers. Why not? And what we see here is instead of dealing with something head on, we jump into something else. We just shift our focus. There's this idea, I don't know who said it, but it was this idea of time heals all wounds. Does it really? Does it really heal all wounds? Time doing what exactly? Actively focusing on it and working towards healing yourself? Or just time spent on other things? If I've got a really bad cut on my arm, and you say, hey Daniel, check out that Ferris wheel. I'll be like, oh yeah, it's a nice Ferris wheel. For a second, I might stop thinking about my arm. Does that erase my cut? Does that mean I'm not bleeding anymore? I would push back against that idea of time heals all wounds, because it sounds so vague. It sounds like it'll just heal itself. And if you're someone who's gone through some serious traumas or conflicts, whether it be relationship wise or others, it would be detrimental to assume that something would just heal itself, that you're just going to wake up one day and the relationship that fell off between you and your father is just going to be fixed. Like, you just won't care anymore. I wish it was like that. I wish it was that easy. And look, maybe you're sitting there and you're going, well, Daniel, that's exactly what happened to me. And look, if that's really what happened, good for you. But if that's what you're trying to justify by saying, because there's a difference between you not caring versus you saying, I don't care, right? We can say I don't care about a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that we actually don't care. We might just say that to soften the blow, right? When we get hit, we say, oh, I didn't really feel it, right? Even though maybe you did, and you just don't want to admit to it. So the question becomes, when is it appropriate to escape into things? Escaping into things could just be being on social media. The guy who you want to talk to or you're interested in just posted a picture of he's out with another girl on a date. So then you're on TikTok for like 4 or 5 or 6 hours just scrolling along. Is that not escaping into something? You're watching videos of other people do something. It's very quick. It can be funny, comedic, maybe entertaining. It's something to get your mind off of whatever else was going on. Now you think, well, look, Daniel, that can't be too harmful, can it? Well, it depends. What's the medium? For how long? What are the long-term implications? What are the effects on your health? These are things that you have to judge for yourself. So think about the things that you quote unquote escape into. And you have to think, all right, is this an appropriate route? Is this a route that I want to take? 5 years down the line, will this have any serious consequences? One person, after a long day at work, might just want to play chess for 3 hours. Another person might want to go out for a walk. A third person might just need to dance. Like, just they need to put on music as loud as they can, headphones, earbuds, and just dance. And it's up to that individual to decide, look, this is what's going on, whether I'm aware of it or not, which most people are. But they might not refer to it as escaping because it sounds like a negative thing. They might say, oh, Dana, like, I give myself a treat on Friday nights, or I reward myself on Wednesdays by going to my favorite bakery that's near my work. So we do these things in order to give ourselves a little bit of a fresh air. But the problem can intensify if we notice what we are doing is powerful in small doses. Again, I think drugs apply to the best to this. Or if we do something for a prolonged period of time. So you might think, look, you come home after a long day of work, you want to watch 3 hours of uninterrupted TV. Is there a problem with that? A lot of people listening are going to say, no, Daniel. There absolutely is not a problem with that. You go, well, what if that turns into 5 hours? What if you do that 5 days a week? How does that work? How many days do you do that for? Does that have any harmful implications? Some people sitting there are going to say, like, TV watching is a waste of time. I would be better off doing other things. The other side's going to say, well, look, Daniel, you should do whatever you have to do in order to re-energize you, and then you can go back to work. So it's a plus. It's a benefit. It's not wasting my time. It's making me feel better. Again, it's making me feel more re-energized. Then when I go back to work, I don't get burned out. I would issue a caution. We were not meant to chase pleasure endlessly. If we do, pleasure no longer becomes the pleasure that it once was. I gave this example years ago. I said, if all you ever drink is tea with honey, that's all you know. And you might take that honey for granted. But if all you drink is black tea, a little bit more bitter, and then someone pours a little bit of honey into your tea for the first time, you're going to go, whoa, what is this? It won't be the same. There's the same concept in business as well. Think about, you buy a hamburger. You take the first bite. The first bite, delicious, awesome. The second bite, still good, really good. The third bite is all right, but it's not like the first. By the time you get to the last bite, it's still good, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't release the same hormones that it did on the first bite. So over time, that same pleasure, it loses its grasp on us, if you will, it loses its influence on us, and we build a tolerance to it. A lot of people, one of my favorite foods is burgers. I think burgers and fries are just such an awesome meal. It's just such an awesome combo. And I'd gladly have that. Now, what if you give me burgers and fries 3 days in a row? The first day I'll say great. The second day I'll say, oh God, is there nothing else? Okay, I guess so. The third day I'll plead with you. I'll be like, please don't make me eat this burger and fries. Even though literally earlier I just said, yeah, look, man, I love burgers and fries. So all of a sudden you can see in like these different scenarios, even though that thing itself, in and of itself, hasn't changed. It's the same burger, it's the same formula. I'm still the same person. And yet when I engage, when I eat, when I have this thing, it's different. Its effects on me are different. Its influence on me is different. Now, one thing that we should be really, really careful of is sometimes engaging in those pleasures feels so comfortable that the mind can trick itself into believing this is as good as it's going to get. So the mind forgets that the hamburger on the second and third day isn't as good as the first. And it's actually very logical. It goes, look, if A and B equal C today, it's going to equal C tomorrow, and the C after that, and the C after that, right? If 2 plus 2 equals 4 today, it's going to equal 4 tomorrow. It's going to equal 4 next week. And sometimes maybe we underestimate the influence of doing something for a prolonged period of time, or the frequency of something over time. And when that happens, we have people engage in these quote-unquote escaping behaviors for a long period of time. So someone who wants to take a break from work takes 2 or 3 days on the weekend and goes, well, the weekend isn't enough. Let me get 2 or 3 more days. Now they have about 5 or 6 days. They go, you know what, let's add another week to it. Now they're just above 10 days. And actually, a part of the mind starts thinking, look, I don't know if I want to go back to work. Like, it's really, really strange. I don't know if you've ever been tired, and then maybe you lie down on the couch for a long period of time, or maybe you take a nap, and I've actually felt more tired lying down on the couch than I would have if I had gone out for like a run or a jog or something. There's something about giving into being tired and giving into being relaxed that actually it doesn't make you feel re-energized. It's super strange. Sometimes meditation works, sometimes coffee will work, sometimes like a short, like quick, like power nap will work. But other times, for whatever reason, if you just lie somewhere, like if you say, I'm tired, and then you lie in bed for 6, 7, 8 hours, get up, I promise you the chance that you feel energized won't be huge. Like there's a good chance that you'll wake up feeling lethargic, still tired, like your muscles haven't woken up yet. But if you go out for, let's say, a short walk, there's a good chance you'll feel really energized. There's a good chance you'll feel a lot better. And there's a lot of factors involved there. You're moving, your heart rate's going to be faster if you're walking as opposed to sitting down. There's different hormones involved. You're looking around. Extra bonus points if you're near some forestry, near some trees, if you can see the water. So these are all things to take into account. So largely when we look at this idea of escaping, we have to be careful that we don't fall into that world. It's this very careful balancing act where you recognize the beauties of, going out with your friends once a week, or going on TikTok for like an hour just to scroll and entertain yourself and forget about your studies. But you can see how easily it is to go from 1 hour to 4 hours. You can see how easy it is from 1 beer a week turns to 2 beers every night. And it's important that we kind of hold ourselves on that leash. That the very first thing is that you're aware of it, and yet in the same breath, if you hold on too tight, you might say, well, going back to our earlier example, there's nothing wrong with watching some TV, is there? But then again, holding on too loose, if you're watching TV till 3 in the morning and you got to be up the next day at 6 in the morning, then you might have a problem. The most important thing above all is it goes back to you. It goes back to the individual to decide how much time are they going to invest in what? What is the intensity of that medium? And what are the implications looking forward? Weeks from now, months from now, even years from now. So that is something that that you have to think about and see what is the right path for you. What is the right medium for you? What is the right activity? And at what frequency? How often? How many times a day? How many times a week? You might look at one person's thing that they used to escape and you might say, look, that's a waste of time. And they might look at yours and they might say, look, yours is a waste of time. So there's definitely a lot of subjectivity in there. But it's important to weigh them. And when you do that, I feel like you won't be as hard on yourself for giving into those things. And yet, you'll have the wherewithal to realize if you're going through something hard, and let's say your boyfriend or your girlfriend just left you, and you say, well, I'm just going to go hit the gym. You're escaping from those emotions. Whereas the science would tell us your best way to cope is to actually do the opposite and embrace those emotions. How can you expect to move on from something if you never deal with it? You know, people are so quick to move on. It's like, dude, just sit there. Be upset. For a couple of hours, for a couple of days. Sure, why not? And only once you've embraced that emotion and sat with it and accepted it, then we can start looking at going to the gym. Then we can start looking at going out again and dating again. But a person that you love leaves you, and the next day you're going to the gym? Don't you think you have some unresolved issues? Don't you think you have some thoughts that you need to confront? Some feelings that need to be confronted that you just push down? Because they're not going to disappear. You're just going to postpone them. You're going to take a rain check on them. So guess what happens? 6 months down the road, all of a sudden, comes back up. 3 months down the road, 2 months down the road, you realize, damn, dude, I didn't deal with this like I thought I did. And what most people do is when they move on, or when they try to move on, for a code word for a lot of people means, I don't want to face these current emotions, so I'm going to do something else, and I'm just going to pretend like that never happened. But my friends, the body keeps score, and so does the mind. The answer here, in my opinion, acceptance. We have to lean towards acceptance before we move forward. And with looking at escaping, we're talking about a whole lot of self-awareness. What are you doing? How often are you doing it? And what are your thoughts on it? Are you even aware that you're escaping? Have you been keeping track how often you scroll on social media? Hey, folks, this has been today's video. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.